Greetings, everyone. I come to you right now, and even though I'm extremely exhausted, I know that it's vital that I get this message out. So, before I do, Father, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, my Father, my Master, my Redeemer, my Healer. Amen. So, my vision is King Charles is on his deathbed. And any second now, he's getting ready to transition over. So what I saw in my vision, it was very specific, it was very detailed. I already gave this message out twice before, but it cut off. So I knew that it was even that much more timely. I feel that when I was having this vision, that it was happening in real time, and this was 2 days ago. And ever since then, I'll tell the video and it just cuts off. So let me just get right into it, okay? So what I saw was King Charles. He was laying on this bed. It looked like one of those beds like the Marriott type of beds. If y'all don't know what the Marriott is, you may want to Google it. It's the Marriott in the USA. The beds that they have. I mentioned the Marriott because I'm going to mention it more than once. So Google it if you have to. But it was a bed like the Marriott. It was all white sheets. And King Charles was laying in the bed. And the sheets were pulled all the way up to his neck. And they were all white sheets. And then he had pillows behind him. Big fluffy white pillowcases. Puffy pillows to his left, to his right, and up under his head. Propping his head up. And it was like two pillows propping his head up. But you can tell they're very, fluffy yet nice pillows. And this room, it had walls that were like wooden walls. But it looked like it could be a library, but it wasn't a library. It looked like it could be a church. At the front left corner of the room was like a double door. And there was a lady standing there, and she was dressed as a nun, but she was taking notes, but she was facing the door. And the door was catty-corner to the bed. Now, next to the bed, there were 4 guys. I think it was 3 guys. 4. Okay, let's get into it. Okay. The first guy was a pope. He was at the foot of the bed. And he had on a long white robe, like a Catholic robe, a long white, like the Catholic robes, a big puffy one. Like it was almost like a shawl, but it was a robe. Like a shawl, but a long white shawl with like a strap, like something that just wraps over him with like a white suit under it, but like a robe he was wearing. It was very fancy, very royal robe. On his face, he had this, like this silk type of cloth that was covering both sides of his face, the left and the right side of his face. And on his head, it was white as well. But as you go up to the top of his head, there was this circle-shaped egg. And it was cloth, but it was shaped like an egg. And he was holding this scepter like this wand. But the wand would immediately turn, like he would go to fling it towards the king, but it would turn into this holy water. And he was flickering it on the king's bed. He was flickering holy water on his bed. There was a guy that was standing next to him, but he was facing the Pope with his back towards King Charles. And he had this pen in his hand. It was a golden pen, like a very fancy, like a millionaire's pen, y'all. Like a very, y'all know, if y'all know pens, you know what I mean. A very, very fancy one. I don't know the name brands of these pens, but it was a very fancy, very thin gold pen. But it wasn't a pen. And this pen, it was like recording something. Like they were trying to record his last words. Like it was some type of technology where if he had any secrets that he never even shared with them, this gold pen, it could retrieve it from his thoughts, his frequency, his vibration. He could have no secrets. He could hold no secrets at all. Like this pen was absorbing all of his energy. But it was whoever this guy was, he just had the pen in his left hand, suspended in the air, holding it up as the priest was splashing holy water with this wand type of thing. And then standing next to him, he had his back kind of catty-corner to the king. But then next to him was this long IV behind him. And then there was a guy behind the IV. And the IV was shaped like glass. Like it was a long pole, like an IV pole with the wheels on it and stuff. But it had 2 vials on it. And the vials were 2 glass vials. And one of the vials was black, but I knew it was blood. And then the top vial that was glass, it had this white clear substance with this smoky yellow type of smoke that looked like egg, but it was smoky. And both of these vials were connected to the pole, and they were connected to the king's hand, to his right hand. And it's like they were shooting it through his vein. And attached to his hand was like this board looking thing, you know, like a splinter looks like, but it was like a full hand splinter, like with his 2 fingers that are in the middle, his middle finger and the finger to the right of that. Those 2 fingers had a splinter on it, but it also had a board on it, and it had like some type of trigger on it. And he was able to close his fist, but his pinky thumb was sticking out. It was like a trigger. So they told him that when he feels like he's getting ready to die, to pull this trigger, and it would pull him back to reality, and he wouldn't slip away so fast. But it wasn't the truth. When he pulled this trigger, I'll tell you what's going to happen in a second. Let me go to what his face looked like. Now, King Charles, his face looked like he was 80 pounds, y'all. It looked like he lost so much weight. But he had a face over his face that was embalmed to make it appear to the public that that was him, but it wasn't him. It was like some type of holographic, like a, you know, y'all know how they know how to make the mask over your face and they look so real. It was like that, but it was real time, but I saw it in the spirit. So it was like over his face. You know, just imagine drawing a face on a piece of paper and then a face over that face. So that's what they were showing to the public. But what was embalming it was something that was coming out of this fluid, this IV. I don't know if it was a white clear substance or the smoky yellow substance that I saw at the bottom of this vial. I knew the blood was, they were trying to pump blood in him to keep him alive. But then coming from his mouth, he had, there was a portal, like a tornado type of shape, wind coming from his mouth. And you can see down this portal that was shaped like a tornado. And it was spinning out of his mouth into suspended air, like towards his like stomach area. And I can see it in the spirit. And when I looked through the tornado circle, because I could see through it, when I looked through it, there was this fire, this burning fire. It was red flames and yellow fire. It was a portal to hell. I knew in my spirit that his spirit was leaving us as I spoke, as I saw it in my 2 days ago, as I saw this. But they were using something in this vial to hold his spirit from leaving. Like it was like some type of mummy time, like stuff they did in the mummy days. Y'all know they got that type of technology to hold his body back or something. So whatever they were doing, they were holding open. It was some type of CERN looking thing, but it was through his mouth. And remember the nun at the front door to the left, she wasn't even facing the king. It's like she wasn't allowed to look upon him. She had to face these double. It was remember the room. It was already wooden walls from, and it was like this plywood wood from, and the ceilings were very high, and the doors, they were double doors, and they were also wood. And wood is something very symbolic here because that's spiritual as well. But I know that's why they came up with Hollywood. I know a lot of witches use the wood. Maybe they shaped the room like wood, like the mummies did, like a tomb. Because remember I said the room was shaped like a church. But what I saw is they were holding his soul back from leaving through this portal until the guy with the pen was able to absorb all of his mental secrets. So that's what I saw. So don't be surprised if you hear very shortly that King Harry has taken the throne, because I've always told y'all that it was a facade with that whole thing. Something's gonna happen. I've done videos on this, but this was probably years ago, maybe 8 months ago to a year ago. If you go back in the videos, you'll find it. Sorry, I don't have it labeled, but I know I had it there. And some of you out there may remember those videos, but what I'm saying is this, and I went into details because when I went into this vision, it was so heavy, and my family and I, we just came out of prayer, but I went right into this vision, but it was so heavy and so deep, and I kept saying, "Woo, I gotta open my eyes," because I was walking around in this room. Oh, and the floors, y'all, the floors were they were all white, like pearly white, like the white marble pearl floors. But there was these energies, these invisible energies, these spirits, these demonic, nasty feeling spirits that were coming up from the bottom of the floor up to about maybe 2 inches off of the floor. And they were humming in the room, and they were making waves like water waves. And I was looking around in the room in my vision, and I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be in here or why I'm seeing this, but I'm finna back out of this. And I had to open my eyes. So therefore, whatever ritual was happening that I was tapped into, that I saw as King Harry gets ready to be announced king, and King Charles leaves the planet, and even before they get ready to announce it. But remember, I said he was holding this detonator in his hand, where they told him to push the button, and when he pushes the button, it was supposed to pull him. They told him it was going to pull him back, to this reality. If he was afraid, he wanted to hold on. But it was a button, and the detonator button that I saw, it was for BOMBS in multiple different places that are going to go off when he passes in the U.S. That's what I saw. These BOMBS are on trains, bridges, airplanes, schools, courthouse buildings. They're everywhere. Any major structure, road, infrastructure, bridge, they are everywhere. And they're coming in. A lot of them are already settled through the trains, and they're coming in on suitcases. They're already there in suitcases. They're there in the grounds. They have, excuse me, if you drive through the South, they have these tall metal shapes. And for those of you who are in the South, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't noticed it, you may want to take note now. They have those tall sheds. They're shaped like a N, and they're metal sheds. And when you pass them up, if you look, there's many of them have tarps over the whatever's inside of that. Those are military tanks, and they paid many of the farmers to house their tanks there. They've already created the roads, their paths. If you look around, they've done a lot of infrastructure already. They've made open waves. They put lights everywhere. They did it right under your noses, and everyone is busy ordering Uber Eats versus fasting, because God says, come out of her, my people. And if you can't come out of her physically, it is vital for you to come out of her spiritually, because whatever is coming, whatever is getting ready to happen, you don't want to be on the side of the wrath of the living God, because it's like you're going down with the sins of the people. And you got to ask yourself, are these sins of mine worth it? You can't blame your mama, your sister, your brother, your cousin. It's about you and your spirit and your heart and where you're at. None of us are perfect, no, but don't allow yourself to get caught up in this tit for tat of comparing yourself to other members in your household because they want to tell you if you're holier than thou or not. It's not about religion, but it's about relationship. Remember that. So that's what I saw. I wanted to share it because the video kept cutting out, but I knew it was important to get this video out. So I'm going to end it here. That's what happened. So pray and stay as close as you can to the Most High God. And if you don't know him, repent, because there is nothing worth your soul.